Hi, welcome to Des Moines Public Schools Central Campus Greenhouse. We've been really busy out here this semester and we have some fun projects we'd like to share with you. We have devoted this end of the greenhouse to topiary growing this year, and as you can see over my shoulder, we have several hundred of them growing. They're beautiful, they're healthy, and the students are amazingly capable at creating these. So I'd like to show you how we do that in case it interests you as well. Right now, we have 22 variety of scented geraniums in our greenhouse. We're curious to see who makes the better topiary, and we've learned a lot. Today, what I'm going to show you as my sample will be atomic snowflake. This is an exceptionally large leaf for atomic snowflake. They don't all get this size, but isn't it beautiful with its variation? And the scent to it, when you pinch the leaf, the oil sacs on the underside release a scent. It's so refreshing. I hope you get to smell one someday. So I'll put my leaves aside. And what I want to show you is I have a pair of scented geranium atomic snowflake that we've staked from when we first made the cutting, a 6-inch cutting, and we've let it go. I have 2 of these, and what I'm going to do today is prune the first one while you watch, show you the technique, and then I'll prune the second one, hopefully to show you a pair at the end. One sample. This is in its infancy as far as growth. This is probably a 6-month-old topiary since we did its first pinching, but this is what I hope that the one I'm working on today will look like as a finished product. Now all it needs is time, continued pruning, and it'll fill in nicely. So let's get started on the one I have. All right, we use bamboo stakes to stake them so that they'll grow very nice and strong horizontally. Without attaching it to the bamboo stake, we would get quite a creative and curious growth pattern on this plant. Horizontal is not its natural form. Scented geraniums come from South America where they grow wild. They do not grow single stem horizontally. They're very bushy. So this is really a manipulation of that plant. The first thing I have to do is figure out what do I want this to look like as an end product. Do I just want a single ball at the top and remove everything below it, or do I want to try and do a 2-ball topiary? And if that's the case, do I want to do one at the bottom, one at the top, something in the middle? It's really both up to your discretion as the designer, as well as what the plant is giving you to work with. I can see here on this plant that I have a lot of really healthy, vigorous shoots off of the initial stem, the primary stem. So there's a great clump right there to make a ball, and we know that the top will work. It always does. So the first thing I'm going to do is decide, as I'm deciding right now, that I'm going to clear everything from here down off and then start to pinch here and see what kind of a clump I can make. The design will reveal itself as you go. The nice bit of this is that if you're conservative in your cutting, you can always go back and be more aggressive after the fact. I like to use this Corona pair of clippers. I keep them sharp, I keep them clean, but they have a soft angle to it so I can get right up in next to the stem, cut off green stems, and it doesn't leave any unsightly remains behind it. That's a nice clean cut. So here's why we're so successful in this greenhouse. Nothing goes to waste. This is a super cutting for propagating roots from. We'll either put this in water and let roots develop, or we'll use a rooting hormone and put it in a perlite until roots develop, then into a growing medium where it'll be the next topiary we work on. It doesn't take long for these to grow tall. It's really quite incredible. All right, so I'm going to take a little time. Well, there's a super long stem, nice and straight. That'll make a great start for a topiary. This is something you have to go back and do. Initially, we use these lovely clips to attach it. The benefit here is that as the cork grows and the stem diameter grows, this will not pinch it or cut into it. That's called girdling. You never want your primary stem to be girdled or cut into, because you will interrupt the flow through the phloem and the xylem of the important elements, the sugars, the starches, the water, the minerals, up and down, and the roots and the leaves need those. So do not girdle your topiary. All right. Most of these tiny, tiny, small leaves will just break right off. All right, I've arrived where I think I will start my first clump, and I'm going to go ahead and declare that I'll go up to here. The reason I'm choosing this location is that there's a nice configuration of stems shooting off, and as I pinch those, they will increase in volume and they'll give me a tight ball shape. All right. So initially, I'm going to cut pretty darn close to the stem because I know what's going to happen. I'm making my cut here right above a leaf node, and what will happen over the course of a few weeks is 2 new branches will develop out of that cut. So already I've doubled the volume on what will be this ball. Then those 2 will get pinched and 2 more will grow off of each one. You probably see where this is going. This is how we multiply the volume to create the shape that we want. I'm going to cut approximately the same length on all of these, even though the bottom ones will have to catch up ultimately with the ones that are higher up. But initially, I want to develop multiple stems so that I get a nice quantity of leaves to create my shape. All right, now here's where it shouldn't be intimidating. If you've cut it too low, no worries. You're going to get those 2 stems, they'll branch out, they'll correct the mistake, and you'll still get the diameter that you want eventually. If you've cut it too long, you'll notice it in a day or 2 and you go back and you clip it again. Eventually, you'll just develop a second nature of where you need to cut. And I don't know when that is exactly. I still second guess myself after 20 years of doing this. I'm going to go ahead and include this little tiny one up top. My guess is that I went. So right now, I have cut here to here. What is that? About an 8-inch length of stems that have been pinched off that will, over the course of weeks, develop additional stems and start to branch out. I'll keep pinching and they'll branch and get fuller and fuller. I'll show you the end product when I feel like it's gone long enough. All right, so here's step 2. I'm going to walk around the front of my table and work on a bucket. This is a tall topiary. I am not a tall woman, so I can't see what I'm doing all the time. Okay, so I identify that my last cut for the topiary for the first ball was here. I'm going to take off all of the stems above that because I need to create the gap. So all I'm doing is taking everything off until I get to the next ball that I want to create. So here's something to remember, that wherever you make your first pinch, that will be the bottom of your top form, and it'll just get taller than that. So try and remember, for instance, this is about a 4-foot tall stem right now. If I make this the bottom of the new ball that I'm creating, it's just going to get bigger and bigger up here. How big do I really want it? Do I want to go down lower, knowing that my top ball could potentially be 24 inches, 30 inches tall? Once you make that first cut, that is where you're going to start getting your top plume. All right, this has already started to branch on its own because I wasn't paying close attention to it. So I'm going to start right here where I am, and everything above it is going to get pinched and then start to branch out. So what you need to think about when you're making your cuts is, where do I want the next 2 branches to come out? And knowing that there will be 2 more off of those, where do I need my pockets of dense leaves to be to make a pleasing shape? You can't just randomly cut without thought, because you will get a very lopsided. All right, so here's a long stem. I'm going to take that back in because I want 2 branches to come off there. Let me turn this. You can see I have a very, very healthy side stem right here. Too long. I'm going to cut it, take it off. I mean, this is the hard part to do, to actually squeeze those clippers, sever that stem. But believe me, more comes. It's lush, it's beautiful, and it gets easier and easier with time. I'll check this again in about 3 weeks. By then I will have small new growth on it. And here's what I'm going to do. I use my thumbnail because I can get in there. I'm going to go down and I'm going to pinch off that new growth, because again, I want 2 stems there instead of 1, and then ultimately 4 and 8. I want it bushy and branchy. Okay, so right now, let me put this back up on the table. It doesn't look like much, and I can see that there's not enough of a gap between the bottom and the top ball. So I'm going to clean off a few more of these. We don't want them running into each other. Okay, so there's my gap. There's my gap between what will be the lower ball of leaves and the upper. And as it matures, if I need to create a bigger space there, I will just do so. Okay, I am going to work on the second one. Let me put it up on the table and show you what I have. Also, look at this lovely pile of trimmings. All of this has been cut from that one plant. So I have lots of options. I can start new topiary stems, or I can fill a hanging basket with a growing medium, use a little rooting hormone on the end, clear off leaves, plug them in, and in about 6 weeks I'll have a very full, lush basket of atomic snowflake. Nothing goes to waste in this greenhouse. Okay, here's the second one. I'm going to do this off camera, but you can see they're similar in height, and with any luck they're going to be very similar in shape, and then we'll be able to sell those as a pair. I'll be back when this is done. Alright, I finished up pruning both of the atomic snowflake topiaries. We were pretty lucky. They've come out as a nice pair. I think you can see these are the 2 we started with. They're going to grow a 2-ball topiary, top and bottom. We'll monitor them as they go and continue clipping. What I've done is I've replaced the clips that we use initially with Velcro. Now, I don't know if you know this product or not, but it is really just one of our favorite things to use here in the greenhouse. It comes in multiple widths. When this is all we can find on the market, we trim it so that it's not so wide. But your plants will not get pinched or girdled with this, but it does a nice job of staying on even through heavy waterings. So we use Velcro when we have mature topiaries growing. I also did have a 6-foot bamboo pole in for the initial because I wasn't sure how long I would let these topiary grow to. I've cut that off at the top so that the top ball has freedom to grow past it. Sometimes these bamboo poles impinge on the growth of certain branches, so we take those off. All right, we'll get back with you in about 6 weeks and show you the progress. I hope you've enjoyed your first tutorial on scented geranium topiary. Thanks.